My action research project was based on the book Daring Greatly by Brené Brown. I came up with my project after reading about her ideas relating to vulnerability. The purpose of my project was to help people realize that being vulnerable is a positive thing, and vulnerability can lead to deeper connections with the people in your life. For my project, I selected my roommates and a few other people on our floor because I wanted us to experience being vulnerable for at least half an hour so that our relationships would be more meaningful. I wanted my peers to take away that they can be vulnerable more often in daily life as well, so that deeper connections with people can be made outside of our friend group too. Part of my mission statement is that I will strive to be real, selfless, and impactful with others. And I achieved this within my action research project because I felt I was fulfilling all of these things by helping my peers be vulnerable with each other. Brené Brown says in her book, "We dismiss vulnerability as a weakness only when we realize that we've confused feeling with failing and emotions with liabilities. We want deeper and more meaningful spiritual lives. Vulnerability is the birthplace of love, belonging, joy, courage, and creativity. It is a source of hope, empathy, accountability, and authenticity. If we want greater clarity in our purpose or deeper or more meaningful spiritual lives, vulnerability is the path." I know this is hard to believe, especially when we spent our lives thinking that vulnerability and weakness are synonyms, but it's true. I define vulnerability as uncertainty, risk, and emotional exposure." End quote. So this quote applies to my action research project because I wanted to help people realize that vulnerability can be positive, and I wanted to help people realize that vulnerability leads to greater and much more meaningful things in our lives. My project took place outside, and my group and I sat in a circle in the grass for the most part of my project. My project was made up of several parts. First, everyone defined vulnerability in their own words, and we talked about how vulnerability is looked at as negative. Then we wrote down a fear or an anxiety that we have here at USD, folded the paper, and saved it for later. After that, I asked everyone to write down something they will dare to do in the next week and in the next month. It could be small or big, and it didn't have to impact others, or it could impact others if they wanted it to. Then I asked everyone to finish the sentence, "I will dare to be more ... So we took all of what we wrote, and then we made a big mural on the sidewalk with chalk. The title was "We Dare to Be," and we all drew pictures and wrote big words saying that what we will dare to be. Some of the words were silly and others were serious. Loving, genuine, proud, funky, fresh, involved, open-minded were just some examples, and the list goes on and on. I thought drawing on the sidewalk was a good way to help my peers have fun with the vulnerability piece of my project, and we left a big mural for everyone to see who walked by it. My hope was that others would read it and feel inspired to let their guard down too, or be whoever they want to be at least. The last part of my project was a closing activity where I had a bucket that had flames on it to represent a fire. We all took out our fears and anxieties we wrote down before, and I gave everyone the choice of reading them out loud if they felt comfortable. No one was forced to read theirs, but in the end, everyone read their fears out loud, including myself. After we said our fears, I told everyone that this bucket represented a fire, and we should let go of the anxieties we have and let ourselves be vulnerable so that we can lead meaningful lives at USD. We ripped up our fears and put them in the bucket. I gathered feedback from my group after the project was over. During the project, I realized I had gotten my peers to let their guard down when everyone shared their fears out loud. I love that my group had the courage to tell everyone their anxieties, and they were willing to be vulnerable in that moment. I could tell my group had fun with drawing the mural because everyone was laughing and smiling, which helped us all connect. I had my peers and my facilitator answer questions for me on paper after the project. The feedback I received from my peers was part of my second loop for double loop feedback, and it was very valuable for me as a leader. Most of the responses I read were positive, and my peers expressed how they are more open to being vulnerable in their lives. I realized after reading the responses I needed to share more and be more personal through leadership. If I were to do this project again, I would be an example of vulnerability by sharing something personal with my group before I even asked them to share their fears. As for my third feedback loop, I had my supervisor reflect on how the group did as a whole, and she answered different questions than my group answered in their reflections. The group connected in positive ways, and the space provided was comfortable enough for the people in the group to open up and share their fears at the end. I love doing this project and helping others see different viewpoints on vulnerability. I'm so glad I did my project on Daring Greatly because it gave me a chance to reflect on how I can be more open in my life and how I can influence others to do so as well.
It's us against the world, through chaos as it swirls. It's us against the world.